More explosions in the skies above Tel Aviv and Jerusalem tonight. Iran and Israel continue to strike each other as the conflict intensifies. Sir Keir Starmer joins leaders of the world's richest nations in Canada ahead of Monday's G7 summit. The escalating conflict in the Middle East is expected to dominate. Plus, we're live in Minnesota, where a manhunt is underway for the gunman who killed a state lawmaker. Aid distribution points in Gaza continue to prove deadly. The girl on your screen, Maria, is mourning her little brother killed on Sunday by an apparent Israeli gunfire near the Rafah distribution site. Deadly shootings have marred the mission of the US-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. 5 Palestinians were killed near its aid sites on Sunday. 36 others were reportedly killed in separate Israeli strikes across Gaza. Israel identified Aviv Atzili as the second of 2 hostages whose bodies from the IDF recovered from Gaza last week. His wife, Liat, was also kidnapped in the October 7th attack. She was released during the first ceasefire. Well, Hamas is still holding at least 50 hostages in Gaza. At least 20 are believed to be alive. Russia handed over the bodies of 1,200 more Ukrainians as part of an agreement struck in Istanbul at the beginning of June. Russia accused Ukraine of not reciprocating. While Ukraine confirmed receiving the bodies, there was no comment on Russia's accusation.
Let's have a look at the Monday morning papers, shall we? Lots of them, of course, focusing on that conflict we've been talking about between Israel and Iran. We'll start with the Daily Mirror today, which reports that the Prime Minister will call for a de-escalation of the conflict during today's G7 summit in Canada, where he's attending alongside other world leaders.
The Front of the Eye reports that the RAF is on standby to defend Israel if the conflict with Iran escalates further.
The Times is quoting President Trump saying that Iran would face the full strength and might of the country's military if the US was attacked.
And away from the Middle East, the front of the Telegraph shows the German tennis player Tatjana Maria, who's become the first women's champion at Queen's in more than 50 years. She gave a very emotional speech afterwards as well. It was gorgeous. So lovely to see.
52 years on?
Yeah, 52 years since the women have played there.
Yeah.
And in our other main news tonight, Israel has full aerial operational control over Tehran. Iranian state TV is targeted by Israeli airstrikes shortly after Israel warned people to evacuate parts of the Iranian capital. And as President Trump arrives at the G7 meeting, he says Iran is losing the war and should negotiate before it's too late.
A damning report into grooming gangs says authorities treated abused children as perpetrators and suspects were disproportionately likely to be men of Asian heritage. The Home Secretary says victims' convictions will be reviewed and the ethnicity and nationality of suspects will now be recorded.
These despicable crimes have caused the most unimaginable harm to victims and survivors throughout their lives and are a stain on our society.
One victim tells the BBC just how widespread the abuse was that she suffered.
I was then trafficked around Bradford itself and its surrounding areas like Leeds, Halifax, Huddersfield, Dewsbury. Then on a wider scale, you've got Rotherham, Rochdale, Oldham, Blackburn, Birmingham, Nottingham, Edinburgh, Oxford.
Nearly 60 years after she died, a 92-year-old man has gone on trial for Louisa Dunn's murder. Tributes to the woman and her instructor who died in Friday's skydiving accident in Devon. Warnings about buying sunglasses and how to avoid the ones that don't offer enough protection.
And coming up, we'll hear more about the legacy of teenage cancer patient Charlotte Eads nearly a decade after she died.